I think the SEC, if it's going to approve a Bitcoin ETF, will approve more than one at once.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Now, Bitcoin's price action, although it has been quite boring, you will notice right here, if we look at where the price is sitting currently, it's trying to break back into this upper area. Will the bulls actually be able to secure this price movement, or are we going to end up falling to the downside? Well, what's actually interesting is we are still seeing the S&P break down, and this was a big fear that a lot of people had, was if the S&P starts breaking down, if stocks start breaking down, is crypto going to follow suit? Well, we did have some big news that came out from PayPal about the fact that they are basically issuing their own stablecoin. Now, there is a lot of mixed reviews about this, but stick around to the end. I'm going to go over the pros and cons and what's really going on with this stablecoin and whether or not it will actually be good for Bitcoin or not. Now, remember, everybody, August 13th, which is the end of this week, we have the first decision for the ARK ETF, right? Whether or not it's going to be approved, well, we'll have to see. But Cathie Wood actually spoke out about it, and you might be surprised what could end up happening. You also might be surprised to find out what the institutions are actually doing right now. We have evidence from CoinShares. I want to talk about what's going on with that. Also, we have not one, not two, but yes, guys, 3 indicators, all that we really haven't gone over too many of them on the channel. I got to show you what's going on because they are flashing something. There is also another Bitcoin cycle theory. I know, so much, like we went from having nothing to talk about to having so much to talk about. So a new Bitcoin cycle theory and a mind-blowing chart. I don't even understand personally how this chart works, which has accurately kind of predicted all the bottoms and the tops. And if we actually look at this chart, it pretty much tells us exactly when we should expect to get that new Bitcoin all-time high. And finally, don't lose your train of thought just yet, guys. I do need your help because there were 3 crypto channels that all got deleted or purged for absolutely no reason within a 48-hour period. I did put a post out there. I have this Crypto Zombie Undead channel. If you want to subscribe to that, it's a backup channel. Don't worry, I'm not going to post anything on it, so you won't even know you're subscribed to it, but just in case, also make sure you guys follow me over on all my socials below, Twitter, Instagram, all that. So in case something does happen to my channel, well, we'll still be able to connect. So, I know it was a little bit of a longer intro today, but man, we got a lot of stuff to go over. So, if you're not subscribed, and you've been watching this channel, because I see you watching. There's a lot of people that watch and you're not subscribed. Turn on the bell notification, guys, because it's about to get crazy. Now, look at what we're doing right now, right? We said that this was a potential bull flag. Now, I was saying that there was a possibility of a retest down to some of these levels, but it was interesting because we had the Fear and Greed Index at 50 yesterday, and as soon as that PayPal news came out, you saw it jump up to 54. We had a little bit more of that sort of investor confidence, right? You can also see, let me go back to actually right here. You can see that we have, essentially, it depends on really how you're looking at this, but it does kind of look, again, like a bear, like a bull flag, right? Potentially forming. Originally, it was a falling wedge, but we broke out of that, and, we are back above this area right here, which was very critical, around 29,360. So the next area we're really looking to break is basically around $30,100 even. And if we do break that, the next level, the next target is up at around $32,800. And remember, we have a CME futures gap up there as well. Now, even though we did technically lose this upwards parallel channel, if I just delete this for a second, let me just get rid of that. You could see very simply that we are, in fact, still getting support. And we do have 1, 2, 3, and now 4 points of contact on this support. So if we do start to curve to the upside, knowing how tight the Bollinger Bands are, then I would say we are probably going to go to that $32,000 area. Of course, if we got rejected, I was not looking for a doom and gloom scenario. I know a lot of people are like, well, that's it. We're at the top. We got to go all the way back down to 15,000. I don't think that's happening. I think if anything, if we were to break down, we would simply retest this 25.3 area. And personally, that's an area where you could start accumulating, if you want to accumulate a long position. Now, as far as shorting Bitcoin goes, I mean, if you wanted to short from these levels, what would you even actually get? Let's see, down to that level. You can, all right, so you would get about a 14% move. So you can take that risk. Also, don't forget, if you do want to hedge, there are a lot of options. For example, if you're over on BitGet or Bybit or something like that, you can actually hedge in like both directions. So you can actually have longs and shorts at the same time. It's a little bit more complicated, and obviously one of the positions is going to lose. You have to be smart and calculate it. But if you do want to learn how to do all that and trade, guys, check out my tutorial above. Also, there are 56,000 in bonuses below. But again, what are we seeing right now? Vortex indicator showing us right here that we're looking for a continuation pattern. Now, remember, this isn't a buy signal. It's not saying that the price couldn't dump, in the next week or something, but it's saying that we're in this trend now where we are starting to build up that momentum. And shout out to Thomas from Team Underground, because he pointed out that this Gaussian channel has officially flipped green on the weekly. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I think that I'm not like a Gaussian channel expert, but I do think that you would need a second week of confirmation, because if not, this green could potentially flip back red, to my understanding, unless I'm not getting this. But as you guys can see, every time we flip into this green, it's not saying that this is the absolute bottom best time to buy. That's not what we're looking for. But what we're looking for is that continuation, right? And you can even argue right here, this would have technically not been the greatest time to buy, right? Because we actually went down, and of course we had the COVID crash. So again, you got to take it with a grain of salt. So, we have this one, that's one. This one, that's two. This one, take it with a grain of salt, right? So we have 2 out of 3 of the Gaussian channels that actually said that we are continuing to the upside. The other thing is, if we actually switch it over to the 3-day chart, which is, a different type of time frame you can look at, you can see right here, we actually had a death cross. And right here, we're actually having a golden cross, right? So, you can kind of argue that on this 3-day with the 50, we had a nice touch right here, and we only fell below this for about a week, and then we popped back up, and now we're sitting above both of these moving averages. So that's also something else to consider. Another thing, if we're going to just keep looking at this 3-day, is the fact that if you look historically at this guppy, whenever we enter out of a bear into this green, just look, the only one, again, is this little one right here. But even if, as soon as it, switched to green, you had bought, you would have ended up buying at around 5,000. And even if you sold, and you missed the top, and then you waited till to go back to neutral, you still went from $5,000 to $8,000, right? You could see right here, generally speaking, this is COVID, so COVID really just screws up the whole charts. But you can see, again, once we go into the green, we tend to stay in the green for a while. Once we go into the green, we tend to stay in the green, right? And again, we've entered the green, and we haven't gone into neutral yet. So personally, this is showing us that the momentum is still there regardless, right? And if you want to be a big doom and gloomer, yeah, maybe we do come down, we retest this little upwards trend, this downwards parallel trend. But looking at where those points intersect right here, I can't see Bitcoin going any lower than that. So I think if the bears are going to get like the ultimate victory, I think for like doom and gloom, maybe Bitcoin goes down to 22,000, maybe. But I just don't see it with everything that's going on right now. Like Mr. Crypto points out, if you just look at the way that these cycles play out time and time again, and he does point out the fact that the COVID crash was an outlier, because none of these other pre-halvings ever fell to, well, this one actually did test the bottom a little bit, but it was briefly. It was only for like a week. So, having a look at this, you could say that you might have a $38,000 to $48,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year, but then it could pull down to 24,000 the beginning of 2024. And then, of course, he's looking at 160,000 potentially. But I really like what Credible pointed out. And if you just want to look at the cycles, we get kind of sucked into this halving cycle, the 4-year cycle. It is very, not repetitive, but it's easy to follow and understand. But realistically, if you look at what's been happening with Bitcoin, you've been seeing diminishing returns, and you've also been seeing slightly longer cycles, right? You could see right here, first blow off top right here, and this was about 300 days after the Genesis. Then you had the second. This was about 748 days after the prior bottom. And then this one was about 10,500. So you can see they're getting longer and longer and longer. And then the previous one, we didn't have a blow off top, and we've just been sitting, or at least we sat in that $30,000 range for how long? That's something that we've never actually seen Bitcoin do. And if you look at these percentages from bottom to top, so back here, you had the peak to peak was 903 days. Then you had the next one, 1,477 days. So if you basically look at what this is showing us, then maybe we have to go 1,940 days trough to peak. So, obviously the first gain, we had 55,000, the second gain 12, and maybe this time we only do 4 to 5, and this could potentially bring us to about 2023 with about $180,000 to $200,000 Bitcoin, right? And it makes sense that over time it's harder and harder and harder to push prices, higher, because you're talking a lot of money, right? A lot of market cap specifically, and you need like a crusader, blockchain crusader. You need fresh blood to fuel the Ponzi. Just kidding. Bitcoin's not a Ponzi. Some people think it is. But you have the Bitcoin spiral. Now, this is crazy. I'm not even 100% sure how this is working, but it's showing the blocks of Bitcoin as they're occurring, and it's also showing the price of Bitcoin. This is just take a screenshot of this if you guys want. Very interesting chart. And what's crazy is if you actually look at this, they say that the spiral chart shows the last two bottoms and tops have a line on exact block timing. If this plays out next, this is crazy. The cycle top would be October 24th of 2025, and the bottom would be October 23rd of 2026. So, there's your crazy price prediction. So really nobody knows. Nobody knows, right? Nobody knows what's going on. But the institutional investors may know because they have stopped betting against Bitcoin according to CoinShares. So the firm's head of research shows that outflows into short Bitcoin products have ceased for the first time in 14 weeks, suggesting that large digital asset funds are taking a different approach to Bitcoin. So they're saying that they have pretty much stopped shorting Bitcoin. They were trying to short it, and now they're just like, that's enough, right? Now, it does say that they are dropping their short positions, but they may be selling at these levels on spot, okay? So they have sold 111 million in the past week, but, Cathie Woods was also selling ARK as well. And, speaking of Cathie Wood, she was over talking to Eric Bolchunas about ETFs and the big decision that's going to be coming up this Sunday, basically. So this is what she had to say.
Cathie, so you are in this race. Let's talk about the race a little bit. The first important deadline coming up is August 13th, where the ARK filing, the SEC is either going to delay it, which we think they'll probably delay it, and then BlackRock is later. You filed before BlackRock, but BlackRock came in with the surveillance sharing agreement with Coinbase. That was novel, right? Now, we're looking in the future. There's talk of a common clock where the SEC could approve a bunch of ETFs at once, putting you on a level playing field with BlackRock and others. What's your take on how this will play out, given you filed earlier?
I think you're probably right that August 13th will come and go, and I think the SEC, if it's going to approve a Bitcoin ETF, will approve more than one at once. So then, again, because most of these essentially will be the same, and it will come down to marketing, communicating the message. We've been putting out our Bitcoin monthly for the last year. We are now starting a Bitcoin brainstorming session. Our first one we launched last Thursday. So we're trying to get the word out there that our research is deep. And we've been doing it since 2015 when we gained our first exposure to GBTC. We were the first public asset manager to gain exposure to Bitcoin at all in 2015.
So imagine them getting approved all at once. But, with the SEC, I wouldn't hold your breath. So let's talk about PayPal. Let's talk about the controversy. Is this actually going to be good for crypto? PayPal launches a stablecoin. I know this is a day old. I couldn't make a video yesterday. So we're talking about this today. So they point out that in the code, there is an asset protection role which can wipe your balance in two transactions. First, it can freeze, and then it can wipe frozen address. So they say in a smart contract, this is a centralization attack vector, right? So like Sasha Hodder points out, if you read the PayPal USD term of service, it's full KYC, custody by Paxos, tied to your PayPal login. PayPal can reverse any transaction claimed to be fully backed by actual USD. So basically, it's all the censorship capabilities of a CBDC, but launched by a big tech instead of the government, right? So, is this bad? Again, what did everyone think was going to happen? Did people think that PayPal was just going to be able to launch, a stable coin and not be compliant, you have to look at the bigger picture here. You don't have to use it. But like Ryan Adams points out, PayPal doing a stablecoin as a token on Ethereum. PayPal has more than 430 million active accounts. Sleep on it if you want. Ethereum is becoming the money layer of the internet. And I just wanted to read this from this guy, Carl Vogel. Now, he says, because he's seen a lot of ugly takes on PayPal stablecoin, legitimately embarrassing for some thought leaders. So he says he actually worked on the project. Like, he was one of the devs that worked on it. So he says, of course, it has the ability to freeze and seize assets. This is consistent with USDC, BUSD, and even USDT. It's a core requirement for centralized issuers. So really, if you're using any of these, it's not a shocker. Tether has been able to freeze assets since inception. So has Circle USD. So has BUSD, right? I mean, you can always use something like DAI, something like that, right? But all the major big ones, yes, they all have this feature already. And they say that it will enable more millions of people to safely enter Web3. And this stablecoin, the PYUSD or PYUSD, is held bankruptcy remote, unlike USDT and USDC. Also, 29 million merchants and thousands of cross-border payments, one of the few platforms that can begin to solve global payments at a scale, right? That's how many they have. And he also just mentioned the fact that PayPal's launch of just crypto assets alone back in September of 2021 was a leading driver of the previous bull cycle. So they're saying they expect that PYUSD will lay critical groundwork for future adoption, right? So that's pretty much the scenario, but you do have to wonder, is it really this simple? Is it really this simple? 2011, 2013 cycle, 2014, 2017, 2018, 2020? You know, maybe we have a little rough patch in the second area. Maybe we do retest down around that 24, but ultimately we are setting up for that. So, getting back again, my opinion on the whole PayPal thing. Look, at the end of the day, we know in crypto, we understand holding your own Bitcoin, being your own bank, having your own private keys, having your own cold storage, etc., all this stuff, right? But at the same time, for the average people don't want to do that, right? Which I do highly recommend if you do want to do it, to check out Engrave. I have a 10% off discount below if you guys want. These guys are like super secure, completely air gapped. It actually generates your private key using like the lighting. So like you can never generate, it's really awesome. But yeah, so if you want, check that out. But like I said, most people, think about all the users that are already on PayPal. How many people have had PayPal? And then all of a sudden, boom, now we just have an option to send and receive stable coins. I still think it's going to be a catalyst. I understand why people aren't into it. I get the arguments, but it's just a reality. You have to be realistic. Like, if you want to hold Bitcoin and do Bitcoin transactions between each other, etc., that's fine. But if you want that global mass adoption, you know that they're going to KYC. You know that. And they're going to put certain things in place to prevent, anti-money laundering and all these other things, right? So it's just to be expected. So that being said, guys, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. Until next time, stay crypto. Check this tutorial out if you want to learn how to trade. Big things coming soon. And of course, peace out.